I've finished up the Pirates of the Caribbean franchise. I've reviewed all 5 movies. Now it's time to rank this franchise. So, coming in at number 5, the worst movie, my least favorite movie of the franchise is Pirates of the Caribbean on Stranger Tides. The action, I do think, is actually pretty fun. Jack escaping the king is pretty fun. The final sword fight is pretty cool. Although even the sword fight just feels kind of played out at this point in the 4th movie. Of course you gotta have a sword fight. You gotta have sword fights in these pirate movies. Otherwise it just doesn't make sense. But it's like, at this point, it's not really that creative. And it's not really that fun. But the flaming shooting ship of Blackbeards is pretty fun. The Mixed, it has interesting ideas. A Jack Sparrow imposter is cool. Blackbeard could be cool. The Fountain of Youth could be used really well in the movie. But they don't really do anything with it. And they're not really ideas fleshed out. You know, the one that I actually really liked was the imposter Jack Sparrow. That could have been like a great twist in the movie. A great plot twist in the movie and something really interesting. But, they have that for the first 20 minutes of the movie. And then we find out it's Angelica, a character we've never seen before. She's only in this one movie. So it was just kind of... It had potential, but that's what this movie is. It had potential, but it just didn't really do anything spectacular. And the negatives are like, it's too far into the supernatural. Blackbeard controls things with his sword for whatever reason. There's mermaids. There's the Fountain of Youth. So that, I didn't really like that. The movie feels like it's split into two, like one movie is on the sea, the other movie is on land. It just kind of felt like 2 different movies, not really cohesive. This kind of feels like a knockoff Pirates of the Caribbean movie. The characters are kind of like cheap versions of the others, like the guy and the mermaid just kind of feel like Will and Elizabeth, like those roles were supposed to be that. Blackbeard kind of feels like he should have been Davy Jones, but they just weren't. And the movie's boring. Another supernatural is the voodoo doll, and also that could have been cool, but they don't do much with it. So on Stranger Tides, I can watch it, but it's going to be my last movie that I'm going to watch when I'm in a mood for a Pirates movie. Number 4 is Dead Man's Chest. The ideas are actually pretty interesting. I like the Kraken, that's cool. Cannibal Island is pretty cool. The bone cage and where they're climbing up on the rock wall, I kind of like that. And the 3-way sword fight between Jack, Will, and Norrington is actually great. They're in the building fighting for the key, and then they're on the water wheel. That breaks off, so it's rolling on the island, and then they're in the water wheel still trying to get the key, and then Will and Norrington are like holding onto the wheel, and the camera is turning with the water wheel. So I thought that was actually really cool. So that's one of the best moments of the franchise. I really like that. Other than those 2 positives, The Mixed, Davy Jones is a cool looking villain, and he's pretty intimidating, but there's not much of him in the film. And he's not in the final battle. The final battle was much more of the Kraken, so that was kind of disappointing. I just wish there was more Davy Jones. And then the negatives with it is the first 40 minutes is pretty boring and dialogue heavy when I want to get to the fun pirate action. I feel like there's too much going on, so nothing gets established well. And this feels like a part 1 setup movie, and then it's all paid off in At World's End. So, Dead Man's Chest, it's watchable. I can have a fun time with it. I'd put it above Stranger Tides, just because I like the 3-way sword battle. a bit more than, like, my favorite moment of On Stranger Tides, which I guess is escaping the king. But Dead Man's Chest, it's okay. Number 3 is At World's End. There's more Barbossa, there's more Davy Jones, so that's cool. The action is pretty good. The Singapore battle is awesome. The final fight is awesome with Jack versus Davy Jones, and Barbossa marries Will and Elizabeth during the fight, so I really like that. So, pretty good. It's a pretty satisfying ending to the franchise if it was the end. The negatives with it, you don't see Jack Sparrow until 30 minutes into the movie, which feels pretty long. Elizabeth and Will, their story is kind of boring and not really good drama of, like breaking their relationship of, like, oh, they might not get together. I kind of know they're going to get together by the end of this, so that was kind of boring to watch. And I feel like the movie's a bit too long, dragging in spots, and like I already said, start the movie when we first see Jack, and then just continue on as is. You would have cut 30 minutes out of the movie, so that would have been pretty good. But other than that, At World's End is pretty good. I do enjoy it, so it's fun. Number 2 is Dead Men Tell No Tales. It has fun action. The execution fight is awesome. Jack swings on a guillotine that's all about to cut him, but doesn't. The shark chase is a lot of fun. The bank vault heist, the knockoff Fast Five moment is actually really cool and pretty funny. So I really like the action in this one. Captain Salazar, I think, is pretty intimidating, so I like him, and he's a cool-looking villain. And I do think it actually has a satisfying ending to the franchise, if it is. I think they ended it on a good note, with Will is free from his curse, and they're happy with Elizabeth and their son, Henry, with their son. Jack finally has his ship back, so it feels like an end to the franchise, so I'd be fine if they rebooted it. The mixed is, it follows a bit too close with the first one. It's too familiar, but it is a good story at the end of the day. The negatives is, there's just not really enough Will and Elizabeth, so it's a little disappointing, but that's a minor nitpick. So I really enjoy Dead Men Tell No Tales. But my number 1 favorite movie of the franchise is The Curse of the Black Pearl. To be honest, it's boring after an hour and a half for 10 minutes. But other than that, the story is interesting. Everyone has different goals, and they interfere with one another. The characters are interesting. Will is determined to save Elizabeth. Elizabeth is smart. Norrington just gets in the way. Jack is smart, escaping anything, and he's funny. Barbossa is, I think, the best villain of the franchise. I really like him. He's almost sympathetic because he's cursed, but he is willing to actually kill people to try and end his curse. So he is a villain, and I do actually really like him. And, of course, it has the perfect balance between comedy and action. The final sword fight is great, incorporating everything established in the film. I also actually like the reveal of the undead crew. That's the scariest moment of the franchise, and it completely changes the movie and what's about to happen from that point on. But the final sword fight, back to that, it's great, incorporating everything of, like, Norrington, Jack, Will, Elizabeth, Barbossa, and his crew, the undead crew twist. So I really enjoy it. So this is just a really solid movie. I just don't have that many criticisms of it. So Curse of the Black Pearl comes out as my number 1 favorite Pirates of the Caribbean movie. Thanks for watching.